At Sparklight, we know connection goes way beyond technology. From Monday morning meetings to Friday nights with friends and everything in between. That the best connections are always there, right when you need them. So how do you know it's great internet? Because it works. We're Sparklight, and we're always working for you.
Sparklight supports C-SPAN as a public service, along with these other television providers, giving you a front row seat to democracy.
Good evening, and this is C-SPAN's coverage of the U.S. Army's 250th anniversary parade and celebration throughout the night. Not only will you see the event as it plays out here in Washington, D.C., in part by our C-SPAN cameras in and around Washington. What you're seeing there is a bit of a shot from the parade route, but also you will get the reaction of those who've traveled to Washington, D.C., who are watching the events as they play out, as this group here is not too far from the Washington Monument. The parade originally scheduled to start around 6:30. However, weather concerns have moved up that timeline, so we're going to see it in just a few minutes. But just to give you a sense of what plays out from the parade on forward, it will start with parade, as we've told you, and you can see that as you keep on watching C-SPAN. You can also see later on this evening the re-enlistment ceremony that will be conducted by the oath by President Trump. A demonstration planned by the Golden Knights parachute team. President Trump will then offer remarks. And then to finish off the events of the day and the evening, a planned concert and also planned fireworks. Again, stay with C-SPAN as we show you all those things throughout the course of the night. Joining us now to give us some context and experience as we talk about the events of the 250th anniversary, two guests. Sergeant Major Christopher Stevens joins us. He is the U.S. Army Personnel Senior Enlisted Advisor, and Lieutenant General Brian Eifler, the U.S. Army Personnel Deputy Chief of Staff. To both of you gentlemen, thank you so much for giving us your time.
Thanks for having us.
Lieutenant General, 250 years and a celebration today. What does that mean to you?
It's a big deal, and I don't think we're ever going to see this again in our lifetime, and I'm just glad to be a part of it. 250 years that we've been doing this experiment of the United States, and this Army, and really our military founding before it even began. And so I think it's great to recognize and just show the people the history through actually showing all our units, all the divisions in the Army, going through history from the beginning to the modern era. It's going to be awesome.
Sergeant Major, the Army, 250 years, how has it shaped culture? What's its role in American society, do you think?
Yeah, and I can tell you firsthand based off of my experience, I thought I was going to have a career as a baseball player. Had some errors in youth.
Let me stop you for just a second, only because we're having some miking problems, and I apologize for that. We're going to adjust that as we go along. Lieutenant General, the same question to you as far as how it's shaped the American experience, so to speak, the Army's influence.
Yeah, I really think the American dream is still in the Army. There's a lot of people that could come in with nothing, with shirt on their back, and if they meet the qualifications, they can serve and they live honorably. They can do their tour. They could serve in the profession, get the GI Bill, which has been the greatest thing since sliced bread, so that they could serve and continue their education, get a career, get it, benefits and things like that, and then have that privilege of saying, "Hey, I served my nation." So I think it shows something that's serving something bigger than yourself, selfless. And that's what we're looking for people to serve.
Sergeant Major, everybody thinks of the Army. Everybody knows the Army, but what's the purpose of the Army in the modern day?
Well, in this modern day, to fight and win our nation's war, when called upon, we, the Army, that 1% of the nation who's proud to serve, we're here to do the job that the nation needs us to do.
Give us a little bit of a snapshot of your experience, both of you, before we go on to some parade coverage. Go ahead.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm the senior human resources sergeant major in the Army, so proud to be the advisor to General Eifler. Grew up as a personnelist within our Army. Have served overseas, both in combat and in the Pacific, out in Okinawa, and have definitely enjoyed my time CONUS, primarily at Fort Bragg.
Lieutenant General?
Yeah, I mean, between both of us, over 60 years of service in this country, in the Army, we've seen it evolve and change over time. But being in charge of the human resources aspect of it, it's a different level. We affect everything. The 1.2 million soldiers that are out there from National Guard, Reserve, and active component. It's an awesome responsibility, but it takes a team, as we have some great teammates that serve with us to help us make sure we do that.
And again, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, our gentlemen are going to be here throughout the course of the night. Formal activities of the parade is starting. Let's go to that now.
and onward to West Point's next generation of leaders. For 250 years, one force has stood ready, unshaken, unmatched, unbreakable. And today, the legacy rolls on. This is the United States Army's 250th Anniversary Parade.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, accompanied by the Second Lady of the United States, Usha Vance, and their 3 children. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and First Lady Melania Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, to honor America, would you please rise for the singing of our national anthem?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Whose broad stripes and bright stars
we even had a country, we had an army.
They started as a small, unorganized group of shop owners and farmers, but they fought the most powerful army in the entire world to a standstill in Concord, Lexington, and Bunker Hill.
Then our Continental Congress chose George Washington as general of our Continental Army.
But it wasn't until 1 year later, on July 4th, 1776, that news arrived of the signing of our Declaration of Independence.
Now we had a new army and a new nation.
With little gunpowder, no shoes, bloody feet, few cannons, little training, and even less food.
Valley Forge started in December. They went into winter camp in December of 1777. Approximately 2,000 Americans died that winter of disease.
They lived through hell, but they never ever gave up. Not this army, not this first American army.
Finally, Washington and his army arrived. Here at Yorktown, where they had General Cornwallis and his powerful British army trapped in this city against the sea.
All of the preparation that Washington has learned through the course of those 6.5 years meets its full force here at Yorktown, and he employs it brilliantly.
Sailing from the Caribbean, the French Navy arrived and took on the British fleet.
Washington decided to make his move. Our men began digging to get closer and closer to the fort, finally getting within rifle and cannon range. Naturally, George Washington chose to set off our first cannon shot.
The British had two small forts in front of the main fort. They were called redoubts 9 and 10.
Then, on the moonless night of October 14th, the American and French forces attacked the redoubts. The hand-to-hand combat with bayonets, knives, and fists was bloody, to say the least. But within an hour, we were victorious.
And as the sun came up the next day, Cornwallis looked out and realized he was in serious trouble. So he prepared an all-out, desperate counterattack.
It didn't work, and the British were forced to surrender.
We were supposed to lose to the best army and the largest and most professional navy in the world.
But our young army had won the war and our freedom. The freedom we hold so dear. And 250 years later, for what started as a ragtag group of shop owners, has now become the most powerful army in the world.
Today, many things are very different from that army here at Yorktown, but one thing remains the same. An undying passion, guts, and love for our country remains deep in the heart of today's army. When I look into their faces, you can see it. That will never change. God bless the United States Army, and God bless the United States of America.
You know almost everybody. So we're back again, the Army 250th Parade. As we're showing it to you on C-SPAN, Lieutenant General Eifler, you saw the starts of it. What were your impressions?
Fired up. I'm ready to go. I think it's great as we saw Trevor Breedenkamp, Major General Trevor Breedenkamp, leading as the commander of troops, the parade with Sergeant Major Vern Daly from the Military District of Washington. They do all these events, but this is going to be a highlight of their career, being able to lead the Army through the streets of D.C. And as the Secretary of the Army invoked the passion and spirit of patriotism and service to the country, that's what we're all about, and it hasn't changed in 250 years.
Sergeant Major, same question to you. What were your impressions?
Yeah, definitely glad that everyone came together. They know the importance of this. It's an opportunity to show our nation and our country the opportunities that the Army has for us all.
I'll follow up. The idea of the citizen soldier came with the United States Army. Talk about that idea and how it's persisted in the course of the Army's existence.
Yeah, and you know, it resonates in our recruiters that are out there every day who are doing their best to connect with the population that they deal with every day, and letting them know, like, hey, you can come someplace, you can do something that's bigger than just yourself, and you got an opportunity to lead the men and women of our nation.
And so many of them take different roles. Some of them on the front lines, some of them are soldiering, some of them are playing instruments. How do you keep that cohesiveness? What goes into keeping that together?
It's one team. It's one team. We have over 150 different specialties. Today we just talked about some astronauts in the Army, talked to some space capable young soldiers starting a new specialty. So we have all walks of life, a microcosm of society in America that are serving. If you want to be a cook, if you want to be infantry, if you want to be artillery, if you want to be a lawyer, if you want to be a pilot, all of these things. If you want to work on electrician stuff, all that's in the Army, and I think we all have one common goal. We put ourselves aside and we join up and say, we're going to be of one, e pluribus unum. And I think that's what really motivates. People want to be a part of a special team. They want to be on a winning team, and that's what we've been doing for 250.
We'll see a lot of the Army's eras during the course of this parade, but to break it down, a regular Army, a total Army, and the Army Reserve, a total Army, Army Reserve, and National Guard. Why those three distinctions?
Well, I think it's important to know that before there was an Army, there was militia. And that's what the founding of the National Guard is. And so we saw that when we talk about Lexington and Concord and Bunker Hill, where before we even had an Army, we had the militia. So the National Guard Reserve Forces are alive and well today. And we need that. We needed it. We wouldn't have survived. We wouldn't have won the independence of war. And we can't do it today without them. So having those components that are they're soldiers that are reserves in the National Guard and full active. They all come together when we need it, and we see that today of what we're doing across the world.
And Sergeant Major, I suppose that helps keep this idea of cohesiveness, too, so that everybody can have a role no matter what their station in life is.
Yeah, absolutely. And, going back to what you said earlier about the citizen soldier and why the skills that you learn in the Army is so important in everyday life, especially, learning how to be the best, citizen that you can be.
We have a little bit of time before we go to our next event, but why the Army over other branches of the military, at least in your opinion?
Ooh, so it's interesting. Earlier we talked about, New Jersey. Again, my grandfather had uncles, all who served. And, when I had that opportunity to join the military, the right choice was the Army.
Was it the right choice or the only choice?
You might be on to something, Mr. Pedro.
Lieutenant General.
Yeah. My uncle John Spencer served in Vietnam. He did his service. He was drafted, went over there, did his service, and I was just admired him for doing that. And I had a yearning for that. My dad was in the draft in the 50s. Served a little time and went over to Germany. But I just had this yearning inside of me just to serve my nation, do something bigger with my life. I went to college, wasn't sure. I found out about ROTC, joined. It was great.
Again, guests will be with us throughout the night. We're into the Revolutionary War era now, so let's watch that.
Was the signal. In the Continental Army, fifes and drums carried commands across the chaos of battle, telling soldiers when to advance, when to retreat, eat, even when to rest. That legacy actually lives on today with the U.S. Army Fife and Drum Corps, part of the 3rd Infantry Regiment known as the Old Guard. Founded back in 1960, they're the only unit of their kind in the armed forces. Performing in uniforms patterned after those worn by General Washington's musicians. Playing period instruments with patriotic precision, they bring history to life, sharing the sound and spirit of the Revolution through more than 500 performances each year, both at home and around the world, too. The Old Guard, Fife and Drum Corps, everybody. And now, from high above, ladies and gentlemen, celebrating 250 years, your United States Army parachute team, the Golden Knights. Descending at over 120 miles an hour, the Golden Knights are using flexible wing gliders to maintain their formation. They open their main canopy simultaneously and negotiate the softest possible landing. I'll tell you, they can't hear you, but they sure can see you. You can give them a great big wave, ladies and gentlemen. The Golden Knights, the finest parachuting team in the world. Fort Sumter in 1861, a nation divided. Over 4 brutal years, nearly 2 million soldiers fought to preserve the Union. Among them, 5 future presidents and the first recipients of a brand new military decoration, the Medal of Honor. With independence won, our nation's westward expansion began. The Army moved in step, guarding settlers as native scouts lit the way. Immigrants joined the cause, and the Buffalo Soldiers etched a legacy of grit and honor across the American frontier. As they march by, a soldier's uniform signals their duty, their role, and their readiness. And by the late 1850s, official regulations outlined distinct looks, shaping the Army's identity and function across the force. Soldiers were issued 2 coats. One, a short sack coat for work and battle, with brass buttons and colored trim that marked their rank. Well, by war's end, that rugged sack coat became the soldier's uniform of choice. As the war escalated, volunteer enlistment surged. Congress authorized support for a force of up to 500,000 new troops, answering the call to preserve the Union. As they march by, representing the Civil War era of our nation's history, is the 4th Infantry Division based out of Fort Carson, Colorado. From Fort Cavazos, Texas, home of legends, the 1st Cavalry Division rides with pride. Born from the thunder of horse cavalry traditions of the Civil War, the 1st team forged its reputation on the front lines of history. They stormed Manila with the flying column, charged into Pyongyang as the first to breach the line and face the brutal crucible of Ia Drang, the first of 13 named campaigns in Vietnam where they proved their mettle. Today, that same warrior
the Civil War
spirit
era is now being highlighted in what you're seeing on screen on the Army's 250th parade. Before that, you saw the Golden Knights as they were landing. Both of our guests commenting on their own experiences. That Sergeant Major, you want to start?
Yeah, first, with parachute operations, and again, General Eifler will speak to what he's done throughout his career. I think there's probably nothing more exhilarating than jumping out of an airplane.
A perfectly good airplane.
A perfectly good airplane. But at the end of the day, going back to, why do you want to do this? Why do you volunteer twice? It's because you want to be better than anyone else. You want to be able to do what the nation needs you to do if called upon. So, again, seeing the Golden Knights, bringing the flag, it's definitely near and dear to both of our hearts.
Yeah, it's great. And I think jumping into the unknown, making courageous acts in training translates into combat, and I think that's what we try to instill in all of our soldiers is to be tough, to be hard. You got to go through some hardships in life, whether it's in combat or just in life. We all experience some hardships, and it makes us better on the other side. So vertical envelopment parachute operations are still important to what we do in the military as they were back in World War II. A little bit faster and quicker now, but it's definitely been a part of at least Smokes and I's career, most of our career being in airborne.
You're watching people along the parade route, and just to give you a sense of what the parade route in Washington, D.C., this is a chart published by USA Today. The movement will begin at the Pentagon, or has began at the Pentagon. The parade runs along Constitution Avenue. That's the orange line on the map. It kicks off at 23rd Street Northwest near the Lincoln Memorial. It proceeds along the National Mall and Washington Monument, and until it reaches 15th Street. We've been showing people's reactions to this. What do you want people to get from watching a parade about the Army?
This is their Army. And this, as we said earlier, this experiment of the United States of America started with the Army. And, not to give anything less to our brethren in the Navy and the Marines that were, established this year later in October. They'll go through theirs, and then eventually the Air Force that was born out of the Army. So I think it's just important to see that we value service in this country. We value the need to have people put themselves second and put their nation first. All their political values, all those other things aside, and say, we're going to do this together on this team. And I think that's what's important.
The Army makes a point that it existed even before the United States technically existed. What's the significance to you there?
Well, and again, it tells you that, people who were not a nation yet, said, look, we need to come together, right? And going back to cohesion. And why are we doing this? Why do we want to be something that has never been done before? In that environment. So again, it resonates today with being the teammate of teammates.
We were watching a little bit of the Civil War era going on, and what struck me is that during that era, you think of the leaders, Lincoln, Ulysses S. Grant, Sherman, the importance of leadership, not only in the era, but overall in the Army's existence and operation.
Absolutely. Leadership is the difference. Leadership solves about 90% of our problems. And we've seen that throughout history. We see it, as we're watching some of these units go across the 1st Cavalry Division, the 4th Infantry Division, the 42nd Division, the Rainbow Division, the National Guard, foundations. MacArthur was in that division in World War I. Matter of fact, General Jack James is about to take that headquarters over to Kuwait to service. So we still, all the compos, active duty, reserve, National Guard, we all have to come together and to defend this nation.
World War I, World War II, how did that shape the Army?
It is significantly, because before that we didn't really have much of an Army, much of a Marine Corps, or much of a Navy. And that really, we had to go from 100,000 plus to over 8 million, Pedro. We can't even fathom that in the 4 years that they brought that back up. So what we learned from that lesson is we can't ever again just sort of like acquiesce defense. We've got to have a good deterrent, and you got to be ready, and we don't want to be late to that need.
During that time, Germany, France, Russia, Austria would all have large standing armies. Did that have an influence on the Army's operations going forward?
Yeah, but I think ultimately once those teams, got in the theater that they were operating in, they knew that they can rely on the person to the left and to their right. They had hard training together. They spent so much time together in their travel over to the theater of operations, and ultimately it was about coming back home as safe as possible.
And back to the, go ahead.
No, that's exactly right. And it's as you see him walking across the road there in doughboy uniforms, it's just like millions of people, and they had to go fight in World War I, and that was tough warfare. We learned a lot about warfare in that, and a lot of our World War II generals had served in that. Obviously, Eisenhower and a couple of these, MacArthur and Marshall, they cut their teeth in that war, and we learned some hard lessons in that war about the importance of unity. When we went over there, Pershing, General Foch from the French, he wanted to separate the Army of America and sort of spread them out and fill. And Pershing was, we are not going to do that. We are going to fight as a nation, and it turned out to be the right decision.
The whole idea of command and control, I suppose, would change during that time, too.
Yes, Pedro, it did. And we got better because of it. We continue to evolve. Even today, we're not resting on our laurels. We may say we're the best Army in the world. We got to prove that every day, and we got to earn it every day. We got to modify. We have this thing going on, a transformation in contact right now, and we have to transform. We can't say we're good. We've arrived. We don't need to do anything better. So we need to keep doing that, and that's what we're doing right now.
Sergeant Major, when you started in the Army, how's the Army changed for you as far as how it does its business, even from your entry into it?
Yeah, so General Eifler brought up, again, the initiative that we have right now, Transformation in Contact. When I first came in, it was, crawl, walk, run. I'll be honest now, with technology and with the service members that we have, and just how, things are intuitive, they are able to see something, send it to where it needs to go, and changes are made instantly.
6,000 soldiers expected during the course of the events of this evening. You'll see about 150 Army vehicles as part of that as well. 50 aircraft expected. Now, weather can determine and maybe makes changes to that. And then also the theme of this parade is "This will defend." What does that mean to you?
Wow, that means on this point right here, right, there is nothing that's getting past this point. I am defending this. And again, this is our nation. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Lieutenant General?
Yeah, I was going to say the Constitution. This is what we will defend, and that's what we've been doing for 250 years, and we're going to continue to do that. And I think that's important that we do that in all our recruits and everybody that's coming into the military, to make sure this is what we're unified against or for, to make sure we're protecting that right into service to our nation. I think that's important.
By the way, we're being joined by Lieutenant General Brian Eifler and Sergeant Major Christopher Stevens, both of the United States Army. We're back to you, brought to you by C-SPAN.
They are fast, they are fierce, and famously used in the Doolittle raid over Tokyo. Leading up front, the mighty B-25 Mitchell. Up next, the Cadillac of the Sky, the P-51 Mustang. From the sky, we're back down on the ground. In World War II, one vehicle led the charge, the legendary quarter-ton 4x4 command recon vehicle, the Jeep. You might have a Jeep in your driveway, but not like this. The U.S. Army truck quarter-ton 4x4 command reconnaissance, better known as the Jeep, was an iconic vehicle of World War II and was the world's first mass-produced four-wheel drive vehicle. The Army used the Jeep for almost every military activity, including command vehicles, scout cars, and medical ambulances. Fast, rugged, the Jeep became a symbol of American ingenuity. From Fort Bragg, North Carolina, this is the 82nd Airborne Ceremonial Band. The 82nd received the nickname All-Americans after a contest as it represented the diverse origins of its members from every state. This name remains today symbolized by their iconic AA patch. Fort Bragg's finest, ladies and gentlemen. Give them a big round of applause, the 82nd Airborne Ceremonial Band. In a global fight like World War II, the U.S. Army knew our troops needed more than courage. They needed innovation. Uniforms evolved for every environment, but olive drab remained the mark of the American soldier. Shaped by lessons from the trenches of World War I, the Army introduced two battlefield essentials: the M1 helmet, tough, stable, and built to protect under fire, and the M1 Garand rifle, powerful and fast. It gave American troops a very clear edge. General George S. Patton called the M1 rifle the greatest battle implement ever designed, and history proved him right. The 82nd Airborne Division. The unit is best known for their bravery on D-Day, when 12,000 parachute and glider troops destroyed German supply lines after fighting for 33 days straight. The 101st Airborne Division, based out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky, traces its lineage back to 1918 when it first established as the 101st Division. Known for their ability to rapidly deploy across the world, the unit has held a crucial role in operations since its inception. From parachuting behind enemy lines on D-Day to leading helicopter assaults in Vietnam, the 101st redefined modern warfare. In the 50s, the Screaming Eagles stood tall at home, protecting the Little Rock Nine during the fight for civil rights. In recent decades, they've been sent across the world with stints as far as the Middle East, where they took part in Operation Desert Storm and participated extensively in the war on terrorism in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Screaming Eagles continue to lead the way as tomorrow's division in today's Army. The iconic Sherman tank is here, ladies and gentlemen. It was the cornerstone of the U.S. Armed Forces, showing its military might in World War II. It became one of the most influential tank designs of the 20th century. The M4 tank was nicknamed the Sherman tank after Civil War General William Tecumseh Sherman. Actually, he was named by the British. With almost 50,000 produced during World War II, the Sherman tank was in active service until 1957. In World War II,
You're looking at those tanks now. We'll talk about them. You just saw the 82nd Airborne Division. Both of our guests have a little experience with that. Sergeant Major, if you want to start.
Yeah, near and dear to the heart. Again, earlier I talked about, personnel who are two-time volunteers. You volunteer to come into the Army, and then that second volunteers, you volunteer to become a paratrooper. 2 tours in deployed environment with the organization, a place where I, cut my teeth. You talk about leadership and the ability to see what's right.
You showed off your shoulder. What
yes,
was on there?
yes.
Let's point to it.
Yes.
Is
the All-Americans.
Okay,
yes.
There you go. Lieutenant General.
Yeah, it was great. I cut my teeth. I started off in the 82nd Airborne in 2504. Major General Pat Works, the current commander, leading that parade through there. It's just a great place to serve, and a lot of love people going back to Fortress Bragg, as we call it. And, it's a great place to serve.
We're watching tanks right now. How did tanks change what the Army does?
Well, it's combined arms maneuver, and we talk about, a lot of times in history we fought like single options. So we rush, we do these assaults with infantry, and then we started saying, hey, let's support the infantry with artillery. And suppress the enemy with artillery. And then you have armor, and then you have aviation. And if you're not fighting together as combined arms, you're just really piecemealing. Some of our adversaries have done that over the years, and we've been able to really defeat them very easily because of that. Desert Storm is a perfect example of that. So that's where we really started to get to that level in World War II.
We're seeing some tanks, we're seeing some armored vehicles. What's the armored vehicle role in the operations of the Army?
Yeah, so when you think about, troops on the front line and the ability to have, mounted and dismounted, operation, having that armored vehicle provides a level of protection that we need our troops to have.
We're about to enter the era known as the Korean War. There's some soldiers that we're seeing there, some uniforms that we're seeing during that period. What was that period like for the Army?
Interesting. You think about the environment. Yep. Obviously, yes, World War I, World War II, very harsh, very cold conditions over there. But Korea, that place and us coming into that location, it was just interesting the way that we had to fight over there.
And let's watch a little bit of the Korean era of the U.S. Army on its 250th anniversary parade.
Military horses to the Korean Peninsula. Special thanks to our sponsor, Coinbase. The M151 kept rolling along as the lightweight, high-mobility general-purpose vehicle replacing the famed World War II Jeep back in 1961. Officially named the Military Utility Tactical Truck, or MUT, most servicemen generally referred to it as a Jeep. The vehicle spanned more than 40 years in 4 manufacturers and were everywhere that the Army was deployed. Another rolled by earlier, and at 2.5 tons, this deuce and a half, the M35A2 classic military transport truck was a mainstay of the U.S. Army for decades, particularly during the Vietnam War and Operation Iraqi Freedom. The deuce and a half proved its value moving cargo, supplies, and soldiers. Its capabilities include up to 5,000 pounds off-road and 10,000 pounds on-road, making it ideal for moving just about anything. In the jungles of Vietnam, the U.S. Army faced a new kind of war. Helicopters became the new workhorses of battle, delivering troops, firepower, and supplies into some of the most unforgiving terrain on Earth. This is the U.S. Army in Vietnam, the era of air mobility, fierce firefights, and unwavering brotherhood. And over the music marching through, the roar of these legendary Army helicopters takes to the air. Flying overhead right now, they help define the Vietnam War. That staccato beat of the rotor blades was a welcome sound to many troops mired in combat. From transport and medevac to close air support and reconnaissance, they brought the fight to the front and pulled the wounded to safety. The OH-6 Cayuse scouted the terrain with unmatched agility. The AH-1 Cobra, also nicknamed the Snake, brought serious firepower. Its slim design, as you can see here, helped it survive and thrive in hostile environments to protect soldiers below. And the icon of the era, the UH-1 Huey, the first turbine-powered helicopter in service with the U.S. military. There was nothing the Huey couldn't do. General support, air assault, cargo transport, medic evacuation, and ground attack missions. The Cayuse, Cobra, and Huey, ladies and gentlemen, three iconic Army symbols in the sky. The 1st Cavalry Division Band, based out of Fort Cavazos, Texas, has played a vital role in U.S. military history. Since its origins back in 1855 as the band of the 2nd Cavalry, it has supported operations from the Civil War to Desert Storm. Over time, it's evolved into a powerful force using music to strengthen bonds between soldiers and engage with communities. From World War II in Korea to the Vietnam War in Bosnia, the 1st Teen Band has enhanced morale and upheld the division's enduring legacy. Today, the band continues its mission using music to shape perceptions, foster trust, and promote national Army and division interests. Standing ready to serve, it remains an enduring symbol of the 1st Cavalry Division's legacy and commitment to duty. The band performs Hit the Leather and Ride, a march composed by Captain Robert Meredith Wilson. This piece reflects the cavalry's transition from horses to mechanized warfare, capturing the speed, the resilience, and the tradition of the division. From Fort Cavazos, Texas, everybody, the 1st Cavalry Division Band. The U.S. Army deployed large numbers of troops in support of the Vietnam War. The first contingent of U.S. Army advisors arrived in Vietnam in the late 1950s, and that quickly grew to a small team of around 100 soldiers, which then expanded to more than 600.
We are now in the Vietnam era. Lieutenant General, what did Vietnam do for the Army?
Well, really what you're seeing right there, 1st Cavalry, where they turned in their horses for helicopters and went in, and you've heard of Hal Moore went in there. And so that's being led by General Tom Felty right now. But what they did really is we had to get into a different type of warfare. And I think that was just showing how the Army would need to adapt in the middle of war, how they have to change things, and it did largely. And so that's still part of what we do today with air assault operations, airlift, air mobile operations. Largely done inside the 101st, but across the Army that we do air assault training with all the divisions. So it's definitely something that we tested, put the proof to principle in Vietnam War.
Sergeant Major, how did the Vietnam War affect the morale of the Army?
Oh, so, and again, General Felty and his Command Sergeant Majors, LaVars Jackson, what we saw was, especially in the enlisted corps, we needed to ensure that our professional development model got better. So really appreciate, those founding fathers during that time frame that said, hey, we're going to invest more into those of you who enlisted in and ensure that, what you need to be a better leader going through the non-commissioned officer corps. They started that then. We hear a lot about the public perception of the Army during Vietnam. Being members of the Army yourself, how does that affect you? I know it was part of your service, but how did it affect you now? Yeah. So, it always reminds me anytime I see a veteran to thank one, right? Especially, just to be honest, our Vietnam veterans. Not too long ago, we were over at the Army Museum outside of Fort Belvoir, and there was a group of Vietnam veterans that were there. Took some time out, shook their hands, actually gave them a couple of G1 coins because, again, always want to ensure we thank anyone that has served our great nation. Lieutenant General?
Yeah, and welcome them home. I always say to Vietnam vets, welcome home, because they didn't get it. And we can't even fathom that today, because how we treat our troops, which is really with high regard and respect. But I would just say that we've come a long way as a nation to respect the service of our folks. And just remember, out of Vietnam, we did went to an all-volunteer force for the first time. So that was a big change coming out of Vietnam.
Oh, that's one era, and now the Army's parade focuses on the Gulf War era. We take you back to the parade.
More than 750,000 troops comprising U.S. service members and coalition partners from more than 30 countries had assembled in the Saudi Arabian desert. In mid-January 1991, the U.S.-led coalition began Operation Desert Storm, which kicked off with an intensive air campaign designed to knock out key Iraqi infrastructure and weaken Iraqi forces. The ground offensive was launched in early 1991, where military forces overwhelmingly destroyed enemy tanks and vehicles. After only 100 hours of ground combat, coalition troops liberated Kuwait, and the Gulf War ended with Iraq's surrender. From Fort Riley, Kansas, this is the 1st Infantry Division, one of the Army's most storied divisions. Nicknamed the Big Red One because of the distinctive red on their unit patch, as the oldest continuously serving division in the U.S. Army, the unit has participated in every major operation since World War I, living up to its motto, no mission too difficult, no sacrifice too great, duty first. The 1st Infantry Division was originally established as the 1st Expeditionary Division in 1917 and spearheaded the American Expeditionary Forces in France during World War I. In World War II, the Fighting First stormed Omaha Beach on D-Day and liberated Nazi concentration camps. The highly decorated unit has had 37 members of the Big Red One awarded the Medal of Honor. In Washington, D.C., the 1st Division Monument stands in President's Park, memorializing those who died while serving in the 1st Infantry Division. Ladies and gentlemen, they are the Big Red One, the 1st Infantry Division. More military rolling stock. During Operation Desert Storm, the M2 Bradley fighting vehicle proved its value on the battlefield. It is fast, it is tough, and it is lethal. Named for General Omar Bradley, a leader from West Point's famed class of 1916, the Bradley was built to carry troops into combat with protection and power. Armed with a 25mm chain-driven cannon and twin tube-launched optically tacked wire-guided missiles, it played a critical role in clearing the way during the ground assault into Iraq. While the Paladin looks and sounds like a tank, it is technically a self-propelled howitzer and was first introduced back in the 1960s. Over the years, it's been upgraded to perform in versatile battlefields from Vietnam to the Soviet Union to Iraq. In the Gulf War, no division hit harder or moved faster than the 1st Armored. The 1st Armored Division, nicknamed Old Ironsides, is the oldest, most recognizable armored division in the United States Army. As part of the buildup for World War II, cavalry and reconnaissance units were brought together to form the 1st Armored Division in 1940. In the Gulf War, no division hit harder or moved faster than the 1st Armored. Old Ironsides really led the way. During Desert Storm, they engaged in some of the largest tank battles in Army history that were decisive victories, shattering enemy formations. Based in Fort Bliss, Texas, America's Tank Division is currently supporting missions in 20 countries across 5 continents. From World War II to today, Old Ironsides remains battle-proven and always ready.
Lieutenant General, those tanks are rolling by. You've been inside one of them. What's it like?
Yeah, just it's great to see 1st Armored Division, General Curtis Taylor out there. Evokes some memories of me riding around with my task force, even in Iraq where we had Bradleys and tanks. And I think it's just an amazing amount, 72 tons of American sovereignty steel. It goes a long way to be one of the elite tanks on the field, especially with the Bradley fighting vehicle, where you can deliver a squad of infantry anywhere on the battlefield. And so having, as we talked earlier, combined arms, you could get the infantry up, you could get the armor up, you could get the artillery. We saw the self-propelled howitzers on that type of battlefield is very key. And as we go into the future, you'll see later what we're doing about that. How do we do this into the future? We see what's happening overseas with some of those forces. How do we get larger ranges and, like remote capable autonomous vehicles? So, I mean, a tank is killing other tanks at 4 kilometers, so it can reach out and touch some things. It's got great optics, all weather, all 24-hour capability. So it's great for our forces to be able to highlight that and show that as they come through, the park streets down there.
And Sergeant Major, I suppose it's a visual example of, again, having to change fighting styles because of the situation, the Gulf War being one of those things. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so when you think about the lethality that a tank provides, especially in an open area like, the desert. Good friend of mine, Command Sergeant Major LaVars Jackson and Command Sergeant Major James Light there in 1st Armored Division, they always remind me I've never been inside of a real tank. I've only been inside of simulators, So they're trying to get me inside of a real one. Yeah. Probably won't happen anytime soon, but without tank formations, we wouldn't be able to provide that decisive, action the way that we do.
Did you serve in the Gulf War?
No, sir. I came in 92. Friends who had came in right before me who made their way out there, so did not have that opportunity.
Lieutenant General?
Came in right after it, right as it was closing.
What did it teach us, though, because as far as the scope and size of a warfare, very small in comparison to others, but what did it teach us?
Well, the importance that we fight as a joint force. We have the Air Force. They did a lot for that and the preparation for that. And we fight alongside. So not only were we fighting combined arms with all of what the Army brings, the logistics that we had, just like we learned in World War II, and the amazing support that they had to provide, and had to be protected too. But the Air Force, the Navy, the Marines, all coming together in a great plan, obviously under General Schwarzkopf, that put that team together. And don't forget, allies. You got to have your allies, and that's what we've always fought with throughout history, and you got to do that. And I think Desert Storm was a perfect example of how that should be, how it should look like, and how it should be executed.
Because they hadn't seen conflict since Vietnam. In that era, how difficult was it to come up to speed to fight a new war at a different platform like that?
Well, I think again, when we went through, we had the big 5 coming out of Vietnam, where we had to say, hey, we developed the Apache. The Black Hawk, the Bradley, as you're seeing, the M1 tank, and the Patriot missile system. We're still using all that today, and that helped us transform our military. And we built strategy and a lot of our plans around that, built an army around that. And it really, training was really important. Training, I think, coming out of the Vietnam War really started to peak. How training like you fight is what we used to say, and we still say that. If you're not training in simulated combat, you're really not doing yourself a justice. It's got to be hard. It's got to be tough. It's got to be ruthless. It's got to be painful because what you're going to experience in combat is going to be that, and you can't experience that for the first time.
The next era we are moving into is the global war on terror. We take you back to the parade.
On September 11, 2001, terrorists destroyed the World Trade Center in New York City and struck the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. using commercial airliners. In response, the U.S. launched the global war on terrorism. The U.S. would stop potential threats around the world and take the fight to terrorist groups and the nations that back them. The Army immediately deployed forces to Afghanistan to destroy Osama bin Laden's al-Qaeda terrorist organization and depose his sponsors, the ruling Taliban. The 2003 President Bush expanded the war to Iraq. Soldiers and other armed services overthrew Iraq's dictator Saddam Hussein. The fight to stabilize Iraq and prevent terrorist groups from overthrowing its new government continues to this day. The campaign in Afghanistan lasted until 2021 when U.S. forces withdrew and the Taliban returned to power. Over the course of the two-decade conflict, over 2 million servicemen and women, less than 1% of the American population, deployed in support of the global war on terrorism. Most of those who served were members of the United States Army.
We're entering the global war on terror era. The United States gets attacked. How does that change the Army?
I would say not just the Army, but our nation. I was at Fort Knox at the time, and the first thing I thought about was my family there in Patterson, my family there in New York City, and then obviously, people that I knew that worked in the Pentagon. And then, hey, we had to lock down Fort Knox, and then, what was the secondary actions from there? What I did see out in our community, though, was a sense of call to duty. So now you saw another wave of, hey, I want to volunteer, I want to serve our nation. So it definitely brought, in my opinion, those who wanted to serve, it brought them into the fold.
Lieutenant General, did you see that same thing?
Yeah, I think a lot of people wanted retribution, wanted justice. We go back to Pearl Harbor. They attacked a military target for the most part, even though there were civilians killed. This was outright attack on our civilian infrastructure. As we talked about, this will defend. That's a shot across the bow. And, like we said, and some of our previous presidents said, we're going to go find you and get you, and we did. And I think that's just about our resolve. And we had a lot of Americans sign up because of that, and they're still in today because of that sort of call to duty to protect our nation. So
we've been talking a lot about how things changed, fighting styles or management styles. Any major changes because of the global war on impact on the Army?
Yeah, and I think we really rewrote some and wrote doctrine on counterinsurgency. A lot of that, as you know, both in Iraq and Afghanistan, and they're different fights too, different terrain, different environments, different political situations. And really, what we were trying to do in both locations was fight a new way. And so we were learning and growing as we went throughout. And just like now that phase is over, we can't forget about those lessons, but we've got to adapt to this new type of warfare that we're seeing out there. So the one that fails to adapt is going to lose. And so we've got to be able to adapt faster than the enemy, as you see what's happening over in Ukraine. You've got to adapt quicker than the enemy. And if you can't do that, and you're rigid in your style, and you've seen that in some of our adversaries over the years, they're still fighting the same way, and they're doomed. because of it. We have to adapt. We have to adjust. And we saw that in Iraq and Afghanistan.
I imagine much like Vietnam, the public opinion of why are we there, the political involvement involved, how does that weigh on a person in the Army doing the job? Does he put it out of his mind? Is it part of the consideration? What do you think?
Yeah, I think at some point early on in your career, you understand that it's a profession. And with that, what comes with it. So again, as a service member, I am apolitical. The officers appointed over me, that the Constitution, and we focus on taking care of each other. Again, I go back to we have to go someplace. We all want to come back, safely together.
Folks, for those watching at home, just a couple of updates. Around 7:40 this evening, we're expecting that reenlistment ceremony with the president expected to give an oath as part of that. Around 8 o'clock this evening, a little after 8 o'clock, the president expected to make remarks as well. So stay close to C-SPAN. If you're watching there, our app at C-SPAN Now and our website at cspan.org. As the activities and festivities associated with the 250th anniversary of the Army continue, this idea of reenlistment. What's that for a person signing up again?
Well, that's really, sometimes you join for whatever reason. I joined up I just want to serve my country. I wanted to serve something bigger than myself. Some people join for college money. Some people join for, to get a job in some cases or earn a specialty. But really, when you reenlist, you're really saying, hey, this is for me. I'm going to do it. I'm going to stay on the team. I want to continue to serve. I fit in like a glove. Or, hey, I'm going to try this now. I'm going to do this. Because there's many options that you could do in the Army. And that says a lot. And we've broken all our records for reenlistment. Like, we've already made all our reenlistment goals for this year, as well as our recruiting goals. So there's a fervor. And, when you're on a winning team, people want to stay on that team. And I think that's what reenlistment's all about.
Sergeant Major, the idea of reenlistment for you?
Yeah, well, Mom said I wasn't coming home. So shout out to Miss Mary. No, for me, and it's interesting as I talk to young service members, especially those who have families. Again, we enlist a person sometimes. Sometimes some service members come in with families, but we typically re-enlist, a family or a support group. So, again, this idea of what does the commitment mean, what does service mean, it's bigger than just me, the individual. It's my family, it's my community. Knowing that we have one goal.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
We hear a lot about diversities these days. What does the military do, particularly the Army does, for a diversified fighting force?
Yeah, so I think General Eifler brought this on, early on. We come from all walks of life with our own thought, with our own skill set that we have. And then we come to this place that says, hey, we have discipline, we have standards, we have values, and this is what it takes in order for us to be the team of teams. So again, come one, come all. There's a drill sergeant waiting for you, right?
Yeah.
Right.
As far as the structure of the Army itself, how does that build that diversity? How does that help, people grow once they enter in?
Well, you start that. It starts off in basic training, and you learn you have to depend on one another. It doesn't matter where you're from. I will put my hand in his life. I will put my family and my life in his hands without question. And I think when you have that in a structure and an organization, there's nothing you can't do. When you have that type of trust, that type of bond, where you're enduring hardships together, when you have to depend. I got to depend on Pedro. Pedro got to depend on me. We could be going through this horrible exercise. We could go through hectic combat, storms, whatever, difficult times, but we're there together, and we come through it on the other side. We are like this. It's a brother and sisterhood that's unmatched out there, and I think that's what people miss when they leave the Army, because you just don't find that in other professions.
You talked about the record for recruitment. What do you attribute that to? What do you think factors in there?
Well, I tell you, I know General Johnny Davis is a good friend of mine. He's in charge of recruiting command, and they have pulled all stops out for the last 2 years, selecting the right type of recruiters. How they incentivize and the options and streamline the process. In some cases, we are very archaic and had to fill out a couple hundred forms to get in the Army. Now you're down to like 9. So you can get people in faster. And plus, there's a lot of options that we're offering. and not just monetary. People want to go to, let's say, Fort Bragg, or they want to go to up in Alaska and serve in the Arctic Airborne. They want to go to Colorado, as we saw. And so there's a lot more options. And really, we're doing a better job of communicating the options that a new soldier can do.
You are watching C-SPAN's coverage of the 250th anniversary parade and celebration for the U.S. Army. We take you back to it.
The Stryker Brigade Combat Team combines the capacity for rapid deployment with survivability and tactical mobility. Adaptability and continuous transformation to overcome our enemies is vital. Fighting an elusive enemy in distant places and at home requires new tools such as unmanned aerial vehicles for surveillance and the Blue Force tracker to see real-time details of troop movements. The United States does not face the challenging international environment alone. Our network of allies and partners is an advantage that our adversaries can never hope to match. Over 80 nations have fought alongside the United States or assisted in during the global war on terrorism. The 10th Mountain Division's climb to glory began with its establishment as the 10th Light Division in July 1943, the only one of its size in the U.S. military to receive specialized training for fighting in mountainous conditions. After periods spent inactive as a training division and as a standard infantry division, the unit returned to its roots in 1985 when it regained its Mountain Division designation. In the 1990s, the division participated in numerous humanitarian and peacekeeping operations. During the war on terrorism, the 10th Mountain Division proved their mettle as light fighters through repeated deployments to Afghanistan and Iraq. Now, since 2002, the 10th Mountain Division, based out of Fort Drum, New York, has been the most deployed regular Army unit. Its combat brigades have seen over 20 deployments to both Iraq and Afghanistan in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. To show America's military might, they have one purpose: to deter war and, if ordered, defeat the enemies of the United States of America. They are the 10th Mountain Division. Investments in cutting-edge systems, drone technology, and AI capabilities strengthen the force, equipping soldiers with tools they need to protect the country and defend democracy. The Army has 8 Stryker Brigade combat teams, 6 in the active component and 2 in the National Guard. More than 2/3 of the 7,000 servicemen and women who sacrificed their lives fighting the global war on terrorism were part of one of the Army's 3 branches: active duty forces, the Army Reserve, and the Army National Guard. The Army is continuously transforming to deter aggression to ensure our adversaries cannot outrange or outpace us. This transformation is not just about adapting, it's about maintaining dominance, ensuring that America's Army remains unmatched in its speed, flexibility, and ability to support the nation's strategic priorities.
Lieutenant General, as we see these vehicles go across, there was a lot of concern going into the parade about the damage on the streets.
Right.
What's your take on it?
Well, what we did is to make sure, in conjunction with the Department of Transportation, National Park Service, all that stuff, to make sure that when we went on the roads, we wouldn't tear up the roads. And, really the track pads on a tank really distribute a lot of that weight. So the only concern is when they pivot steer or when they turn, they potentially could grind the pavement. So what we've done is put out, inch-thick steel at those locations where they turn to prevent any type of damage to the National Park Service roads and all that stuff.
Well, what's been your impression of the parade so far?
Yeah. Glad to see troopers out there in step. Glad to see the American public, cheering them on.
Yeah.
To me, that's the most important thing. And, our country is saying thank you. We appreciate you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, marching in parades is not our go-to. It's training. It's preparing to fight. So this is one of those things that people they don't get to do this a whole often. They do it, and so it's a good chance to just display that to the American people. I think it's pretty neat that they get to see all of this history walk before them, because we typically don't do this a whole lot. We're really mission focused. But it is a good time. 250 years, we don't do this very often. It's a great opportunity to show all the Americans, this is what we do.
You're watching this on C-SPAN.
Used by the Army since 2005, the M777 is currently being used in Ukraine. Weighing only 4,700 pounds, the M119 howitzer is smaller. It is used by infantry brigades, particularly for air assault missions. It was first used in Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm in 1991 and is also seeing active use in Ukraine. The 7th Infantry Division, stationed at Joint Base Lewis McChord, has been seeing continuous combat action ever since activation in World War I. From Europe to the Aleutian Islands, Japan, Korea, Afghanistan, and the Pacific, the Bayonet Division boasts a proud history of answering the call of its motto, "Trust in Me," with resolute dedication. Sent to deployments and conflicts around the globe since it was founded, the division returned to Fort Lewis in 1971, its first time on American soil since 1934. The 7th Division, originally called the Hourglass Division due to their patch design, gained the nickname Bayonet Division during their deployment to Korea in June of 1950. At Incheon Landing and during the liberation of Seoul, they were credited with plunging the bayonet into the heart of the enemy, with 13 members of the division receiving the Medal of Honor. The 7th enables and sustains the combat readiness of 2 Stryker Brigade combat teams and a Combat Aviation Brigade. The American soldier, the cornerstone of everything the Army does, we are continuously transforming. Army careers span the spectrum from attorneys to astronauts and mechanics to engineers. The Army's greatest asset is our people, the finest men and women our great nation has to offer, with a myriad of talents that make us stronger. Aside from its people, the Army's next greatest asset is its technology and equipment. Coming up next, these vehicles offer a glimpse of what the Army employs for readiness and battle. The portable howitzers and the portable Abrams tank were used extensively in the Gulf War, along with Bradley tanks and the infantry squad vehicle. The ISB provides enhanced tactical mobility of an infantry brigade combat team. This allows commanders greater freedom of movement and action. The ISB provides the warfighter with increased flexibility to ensure infantry units maintain momentum to achieve mission success. When duty calls, U.S. Army soldiers don't just answer, they lead. From Fort Bragg, witness a powerful demonstration of strength, purpose, and the unmatched capability of today's Army.
The Army has made me see my potential, and I feel like it's molded me into a better person.
I grew up in a very patriotic household. My grandfather, he served in World War II, and his brother, my uncle, served in Vietnam. I can do this. If they can do this, I can do this.
When I was born, my dad was still serving in the military, and him coming home in his uniform, I'm like, yeah, I want to do that.
Clear for takeoff. My motivation, I think it follows in line. I think with what my family's done is kind of a sense of duty to serve our country and give back since it's given us so much.
I'm a very, let's say timid person, but definitely helped me become a more confident person.
Working with a group and my peers, it really shows how much working with a team can strengthen you.
All right, ready to go? Ready to go? I derive a lot of purpose from serving others. I think serving something bigger than myself gets me out of bed every day. If you power it up, keep it up.
I definitely pushed myself further than I ever thought I could go.
I joined the military service because I want to deploy. That's my main goal, is deploy, deploy, deploy.
If we get the call, we have to go somewhere, we'll do what needs to be done. That's just the way we operate here.
This is one of the few jobs in the nation where we all take an oath to say, I'm willing to put my life on the line for you, and they're willing to put their life on the line for me.
This is what we train for. This is what I want to do. My team leaders and squad leaders, they know exactly what to do. Check equipment, check weapons, check ammo.
We're always ready to deploy within 18 hours and handle the mission at task. We jump so frequently so that our jump masters and the paratroopers are ready to deploy.
Outboard personnel, stand up!
I'm very passionate about being a jump master. The paratroopers, they see you and, you know, they believe in you. I love to instill that confidence with my passion into those paratroopers. It's a rush. It's great.
Drop them clear for personnel drop.
This week we honor 250 years of valor and glory and triumph by the greatest fighting force ever to walk the face of the earth, the United States Army. For 2.5 centuries, our soldiers have marched into the raging fires of battle and obliterated America's enemies.
I love the Army. It is a great place to set yourself up for success, to prepare yourself for the future.
God bless you, God bless our soldiers, and God bless the U.S. Army.
Joint Base Elmendorf, Richardson, Alaska is the home to America's Arctic Angels, who execute expeditionary operations worldwide, conduct multi-domain operations in the Indo-Pacific Theater and the Arctic, and on order decisively defeat any adversary in extreme cold weather, mountainous and high-latitude environments through large-scale combat operations. The Angels are the Army's only Arctic division. Masters of Arctic warfare, the 11th serves worldwide in all climates. Established in November of 1942, the Angels of the 11th Airborne Division led the way in the Philippines during World War II and spearheaded an amphibious invasion of Luzon and distinguished themselves during the liberation of Manila. After periods spent inactive and stationed in Germany from 1963 to 65, the division operated as the 11th Air Assault Division with the mission of testing and refining the Army's helicopter-centric air mobility doctrine. Activated once again in June of 2022, they remain dedicated to defending America's interests throughout the Arctic, in Alaska, and beyond. The 11th Airborne Division, America's Arctic Angels.
Lieutenant General, you just left that division.
I did a great division, the Arctic Angels of the 11th Airborne Division. Major General Joe Hilbert and Sergeant Major Hanson doing a great job out there. All those paratroopers. A unique division. It's both airborne and air assault. There's nothing like it out there. And if you've gone into any conditions at 30 below, 40 below zero, it's life-changing. If you don't train in that environment like they do, you're not going to be able to survive. So someone needs to do that for America. That's what they do.
We've entered, the parade has entered the modern era, so to speak. What does that mean to the Army to be in the modern era in preparation of a soldier?
Yeah, so going back to technology and what do we need in order to win, this fight and then the next fight. So again, ensuring that we leverage everything that we have from that standpoint so that our service members, they have an overwhelmingly unfair advantage when they go into that fight.
Elaborate on that unfair advantage.
Well, so ultimately, I know if I train harder, I know if I, put in the effort that's needed, I will will myself to beat my enemy, right? And I love sports. We do use sports analogies all the time. But that's the difference. What are the things that you have in your toolkit to ensure that your adversary knows right up front, like, oof, I do not want to face, that person or that organization.
Lieutenant General, what has to be done to build that discipline, that drive into the modern soldier of the Army today?
Well, we got to continue to do hard, tough, challenging training, Pedro. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're not doing that, we can't have a mamby-pamby Army. They've got to be tough. And we're taking people from all walks of life. And so we got to bring them in and mold them and say, you can do this. And you can endure hardships. You can make sacrifices. Because if we don't do that, who's going to do that in America? So that's one of the main things that we have to instill. It's tough. It's hard. You make some sacrifices. But if you don't do it, who's going to do it? And that's what we try to instill in all our training. And if I'm the leader and if something happens to me, he's got to be ready to take over. And if something happens to him, then you're up. And so we have that, we're going to complete the mission, though I be the lone survivor attitude. And that's what we need to do for America. America is worth it.
To what degree is it the little things that helps that along? The way your uniform fits on you, the shine on your shoes, everything else. How do the little things add up to the big things?
Well, it's pride, it's discipline, and a lot of times they're sort of counter because you think of pride if you think of getting heady, but pride in what you're doing, pride in your team, pride in that I'm doing the best that I can be at what I'm doing, and I think that's part of what we're trying to instill. You have that pride and discipline. Discipline means you're doing some things that are really hard and you don't necessarily want to do, but you do it. Just like trying to get stronger, getting it faster on your run, trying to get a better skill set and studying harder. Like all that demands are put upon you in the Army because we really have to be all that we can be. We can't be halfway. We can't be average. We got to be above average because, as Smoke said, we're going to go up against a determined enemy, And what's going to make the difference? It's going to be that discipline. It's going to be that hard training that he talked about. It's going to be your fitness, your mental toughness. All of that will carry the day. And we've seen that for 250 years. It works.
Sergeant Major, we talked a little bit about the recruitment. I know that the Army is currently working on a program to help people prepare. If they want to enlist, they get their grades up or get their physical requirements. How does that program work? How does it fit into this idea of those who get recruited into or enlist in the Army?
Yeah, so the Future Soldier Preparatory Course, great initiative that was started about 2 years ago to ensure, hey, you might not right now have the grades, the aptitude in order to make it. We'll put you in kind of a transition period. We will educate you. We've had some phenomenal educators that are on our team that, they don't teach the tests. They give them reps and sets so they understand the importance of what they need to do in order to, have the appropriate grade in order to pass. Now, on the physical side, I think that's the most impressive thing that we've seen. We've seen, citizens who they have the determination, they have the want, the desire to be a soldier. But we bring them in and we say, look, we're going to teach you how to eat. We're going to teach you how to sleep. We're going to teach you how to work out. Simple things like that. They'll go through, a couple of weeks of that. And what we've seen when they graduate, not just that course, they graduate basic combat training, they go on to their first unit of assignment, and they are doing as well as service members who do not go through that preparatory course. So we see that it's working. And a lot of that has to do, again, I go back to the educators on the aptitude side, but also with the drill sergeants that are on the physical fitness side.
And I suppose it goes to the idea you were talking about, depending on each other to make that happen.
Yeah, and I think it's great. It's tapping into a resource of people that really want to serve, but maybe cognitively, physically, they can't. And so it's important to note that we're not lowering standards. We're trying to help them and coach them and get them to meet the standards. And so we've been very successful with that. And so we're watching long term. How do they perform? And as Sergeant Major said, they're performing very well. They're not reversing back. They're not performing poorly. They're performing as equally as good as their peers that did not go through that course. So we see a lot of that, and that's really helped us out a lot.
This modern era of the Army, what are we preparing for these days?
Well, we're always watching our potential adversaries out there around the world. We see, some of our potential adversaries. We see what's happening in the European theater of what's going on. We're watching how the drone fight that's going on, electronic warfare. We're looking at space and cyber, looking at how to use artificial intelligence. We know what some of our adversaries in Asia and in China, what they're trying to do. They're, technically they're already at war with the West in large scale in regards to stealing information and doing some things against that are short of a firing war. And so we have to be ready for things like that. And again, if we don't have a force, and soldiers don't decide to go to war. Our civilian leaders decide that. We have to be ready and prepared for it. So we do not want to waste a waking minute and put our head on a pillow until we're prepared for those things. And we have to think differently. We have to watch, we have to observe, but we also have to put some of this technology out there that, some people are not willing to change, right? And we have to get past that. And I think we're doing that with a lot of the systems that we're trying to do with our transformation and contact and our initiative to be continuously transformation. Because the biggest thing that happens now, as opposed to in previous years, I think the need to change happens at a much faster cycle. And you have to go faster. So our whole industrial base, our congressional, and our acquisition process has to speed up because we can't take years to develop something. We have to do it in months or weeks and be able to do that faster to adapt.
If that's the requirements, what does it mean for the person enlisting today?
Yeah, so, we can have all the technology in the world, but if we don't invest into our service members, it really comes down to, those interpersonal skills. What is going to drive you to ensure that you want to attack that hill? What is going to drive you to ensure that, when the bullets are flying, that your head is in the game? And ultimately, you are looking out, for that person to your left and to your right. So, again, we continue to take a look at what we're investing in our education, in our professional military education system, as well as our holistic health and fitness.
How often does that get a review to make sure that you're up to date to say what people could get on the civilian side?
Yeah, so I think that is routine. What we've seen over the last probably 3 to 4 years is, again, our systems have been a little slow. By the time we come out with something new within the Army, on the civilian side, we're already years behind. So our leadership has done a phenomenal job to ensure that as something is identified, what do we need to do immediately to either A, get into a service member's hand, or B, how can we put in a doctrine so that we're teaching that within our professional military education system.
That's right.
You want to add to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say Secretary Driscoll, General George have done a great job of trying to cut through the bureaucracy, cut through some processes that maybe we've always done, and we're wedded to that process, but actually we don't need to do that process anymore because this system is antiquated. And I think that's what we're trying to do with the acquisition with getting new things, just like drone warfare. I mean, that changes almost on a weekly, monthly basis. You can't have to stick on one type of thing and get it. You got to be able to change. You got to be able to adapt. You got to have some flexible funding and all that. So that's what we're working with Congress and the Department of Defense to get things faster and more efficiently.
You just heard from Lieutenant General Brian Eifler, the U.S. Army Personnel Deputy Chief of Staff. Also joining us, Sergeant Major Christopher Stevens, U.S. Army Personnel Senior Enlisted Advisor. And you watching the parade at home, we take you back to it.
From the Multi-Purpose Company's 2nd Battalion, 327th Infantry Regiment, 1st Mobile Brigade, 101st Airborne Division, Bastogne. They are showcasing the Army's Transformation in Contact Initiative, a program that allows the Army to rapidly test, evaluate, and equip our soldiers with the newest technologies. Modern, mobile, and mission-ready, the Bastogne Brigade continues to adapt to new threats while staying rooted in the fierce resilience that defined its birth. They are carrying the next-generation squad weapons, the XM7 and XM250, both equipped with the XM157 optic. The vehicles are the infantry squad vehicle, a new mobility asset that can rapidly move through most terrain types. The trailer is the S-MET, and it's capable of carrying heavy loads under its own power through restrictive terrain. This platoon is equipped with 3 types of small unmanned aerial systems. They are the Ghost X, located on the S-MET, the C-100, and right above us there, the X-10D, which are flying above the formation right now. Bradley fighting vehicle has proved itself to be lethal and survivable in multiple theaters since it first fielded back in the 1980s. Designed as a troop transport tank killer and to match speed with an Abrams tank, the Bradley is a fierce fighting machine. The Bradley accompanies American troops often with the M1A1 Abrams tank, nicknamed the Beast and Whispering Death because of its firepower, accuracy while moving, and its stealth. Together, they offer mobility and firepower, a fearsome combination. Sky, the AH-64 Apache. It's the premier attack helicopter in the world. The Apache entered service in the mid-1980s and continues to evolve and modify to meet worldwide threats. It can deliver intense fire on the battlefield with an array of aerial rockets, guided Hellfire missiles, along with 30-millimeter cannon fire. The aircraft you see here is configured with a sophisticated targeting radar system and can operate in poor visibility and in the black of night. With more than 1,280 aircraft in operation accumulating over 5 million flight hours, 1.3 million of which have been in combat, the AH-64 Apache represents the backbone of the U.S. Army's attack helicopter fleet and a growing number of international defense forces. Special thanks to our sponsor, Lockheed Martin. let's roll on to the future of Army readiness. The Army Research Laboratory robot dogs reflect the latest in Army innovation. Look at this. Much like a true canine, these robots can go where soldiers cannot. They have increased mobility, improved tactical awareness, reduced risk to soldiers, and enhanced teamwork. Replacing soldiers, robot dogs can explore terrain that may be difficult for soldiers to traverse, dispose of explosive ordnance, and act in defensive posture or aggressive capacity when armed. Ghost Robot Dog is another innovation that can adapt seamlessly for various missions from recon to bomb recognition. These dogs reduce risk and support soldiers completely in high-stakes missions. They have a standard walk speed of 2 miles per hour and are working towards 6.7 miles per hour sprint.
Some flying machines, some four-legged machines. It's all part of the future aspect of the Army. What's important to know about the future of fighting war, especially warfare within the Army?
Well, you know, we can be 100% wrong at guessing what the future warfare is, and we can get it 100% wrong. What we can't do is get it 100% wrong. We have to get some of it right. And so if we're not testing new innovative ideas, new techniques, tactics, procedures, new technology, as you just saw out there, some autonomous vehicles and things like that. If we're not doing that, we're going to fall to the wayside. So we always have to be transforming. We always have to be looking at new and innovative ways. Sometimes these ideas come from privates. Sometimes they come from the civilian sector. But the whole Army has got to be all together on trying to find a better way to do this, do some of the things that we do.
And Sergeant Major, I suppose for those who are listening, if they're technologically minded, computer science minded, they want to go into those fields, there's an opportunity there too.
Yeah, Mr. Pedro, I was just thinking that that's a new market that we're tapping into, so again, there's plenty of, youth out there, young adults who might not be in college right now, but they have this skill set because they developed it on their own. I mean, we see, 5-year-olds who start off early, right, doing this. And then there's a society of America that are in technological schools or trade skills, So again, the normal thing that we were doing before, we're just going to high schools or to colleges. We're not just limiting ourselves to that. We are looking at all avenues to try to get people to serve.
I was just going to ask you, what does recruitment look like these days? Is it a table set up at a high school gym? How much has it changed since?
Yeah, so back in the 1900s. We like to say that. No, sir. So again, the days of just thinking the recruiters come to the high schools, the days of thinking the recruiting station at the mall, right? No, not at all. So, everything that we're doing with our enterprise marketing office, everything that we're doing to ensure that we're on all social media platforms. Yes, we still have commercials, that we'll show on TV. And we've done a phenomenal job within Recruiting Command with that. But again, we're not just, doing what we were doing before when it comes to how do we, touch and prospect throughout both the continental United States and OCONUS.
And Lieutenant General, I mean, that's widen the net. I guess you got to do that
sure.
as part of your job.
Yeah, and we just saw West Point, United States Military Academy, go across there with General Gillen, a good friend of mine. We went to Ranger School in 1989 together. That's how long I've known him. But even at West Point, and trying to recruit the right type of people that want to serve in our nation, and we're filling that rank. And I think that's important that we still do what we did starting back in 1802 when we first started West Point, where we continue to get some of America's best, and we compete, quite frankly, across all of the nation with that. We still have that type of, and as you see some other schools like VMI that's out there, I think the Citadel, Texas A&M, you can see them because they got their boots and their unique uniforms. Howdy, that's right. The Aggies there, and just highlighting there's other ways to serve. You could go into one of these ROTC types or go into West Point, or you can enlist. So many options to make a difference. What we want to make sure is that the people consider serving, because it is more than what most people understand. Like you say, you don't have to go to a brick and mortar recruiter. You can do a lot online now to see, and so we're trying to, as Smoke said, proliferate the information so people are more well informed and can make a better decision.
Lots of bands, lots of music, and this parade will take you back to it.
Generations to come. The Citadel, the military college of South Carolina, offers students the opportunity to participate in Army ROTC or the Historic Corps of Cadets. Founded in 1842, the Citadel is the third oldest of the senior military colleges and is known for its Corps of Cadets living and studying under a classical military system that makes leadership and character development essential. While military service is not required at graduation, more than 120 students earn their commission each year through the Army Senior ROTC Palmetto Battalion, playing a vital role in shaping the future. As one of the nation's senior military colleges, Texas A&M University is home to both Army ROTC and the renowned Corps of Cadets. The Corps of Cadets' central purposes has remained building individuals that exemplify respect, excellence, leadership, loyalty, integrity, and selfless service. Students at the university who participate in the Army ROTC earn their commission as officers ready to serve on active duty in the National Guard or Army Reserve. Each year, the Army Senior ROTC Warrior Training Battalion at Texas A&M proudly commissions more than 90 second lieutenants and is honored to shape the future leaders of the U.S. Army. In a powerful display of commitment, these future soldiers will raise their right hand and take an oath of enlistment, pledging to serve our nation. This joint formation is proudly led by the Joint Task Force, National Capital Region, and the Military District of Washington Retention Team. Shaping tomorrow's Army, West Point's most inspiring cadets remind us that America's future is courageous and in capable hands.
The pride to serve my country knows that I'm doing it not for myself. Every day I put on the uniform, I'm not just representing Caroline Robinson. I'm representing my company here at the Academy. I'm representing West Point. I'm representing the United States Army, and ultimately, I'm representing the United States of America.
I really came to West Point because belief in the American dream and giving back to our country.
You're a part of something that is much bigger than yourself. You're a part of a tradition of excellence and a legacy that's connected not only to the Academy, but to the American Army.
I'm surrounded by people who want to make themselves better and serve our country.
Excellence is their baseline, and that to me is what it means to be a West Point cadet.
From the earliest days of our nation, this supreme tradition of American military service has been passed down from soldier to soldier and generation to generation, and it's a beautiful thing to watch.
My brother preceded me here, and originally I didn't really know what West Point was until he came. But when I saw the mission that they were committed to, of upholding the principles of American democracy and protecting the Constitution, I knew it was somewhere I had to be.
Every time that we lived outside of the United States, I always developed this sense of gratitude and pride of being an American, and I wanted to give back to my country what it gave to me.
And it wasn't until I zipped up the blouse and I put the belt on for the first time that I realized that I was going to be serving my country, and it felt right. West Point was the place that I needed to be, and more importantly, the Army was where I wanted to be.
I just looked to the left and right over basic training and realized that we all had the same American patch on our shoulders, that we're all fighting for the same thing. I mean, there was no better feeling in the world knowing that every single person around you is committed and willing to die for that mission.
You came for excellence, you came for duty, you came to serve your country, and you came to show yourselves that you are among the smartest, toughest, strongest, most lethal warriors ever to walk on this planet.
What excites me the most about my future in the Army is the opportunity that I'm going to have to give back to the American soldiers that I'm going to be leading.
Because ultimately, they don't get to choose. And to me, it's that burden of responsibility to be the best leader.
And as a young officer, that's going to be exactly what I get to do.
I was the cadet basic training first detail for the first 3 weeks. And I got to see the new cadets come in from their families' homes and being in process on their very first day and watching them grow so quickly.
I would do all the formations, and I looked out at these 1,000 new cadets, people who just come out of high school. They were completely different people.
I don't think there's another institution in the country like West Point where the student body is so committed to furthering the mission of America and ensuring our democracy and freedom for generations to come.
I'm really surrounded by the best of the best, and that's when I realized this is the place that I absolutely want to be.
West Point itself is an amazing institution, but it only provides opportunities. The people here have to choose to take those opportunities and grow and lead and serve. And the people here want to do that. And I'm proud to be a part of that. And I would tell any high schooler who is considering it, you won't regret it.
Left. Pace. Mr. President, First Sergeant Norton reporting for duty, sir. Ready to commence the ceremony as directed.
I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. Congratulations, congratulations. Welcome to the United States Army, and have a great life. Thank you very much. Have a great life. Thank you.
Forward.
Ranger School is the best life insurance policy for our Army. It will always end with two people facing off with each other, and we need young leaders to be able to close with and destroy the enemy and defend our nation's interests forward.
Surrender is not a Ranger word. It's not an option. I know that I'm not going to be able to get to do this again. This is my chance.
It all starts at the legendary Ranger School, the crucible where these elite warriors are forged. It has been described as the longest approved gut check in the Army. Over 62 days, students will patrol hundreds of miles over mountains and through swamps under the crushing weight of their equipment. All the while, they are deprived of both food and sleep, forced to perform at the very edge of their physical limits. But it's not just the physical challenges that make Ranger School so intense. The mental strain will break these soldiers down to their core.
If I have a come to God moment, I take my PC off my patrol cap, and on the inside of that, my commander gave me a Ranger tab, the yellow and black one that you get during graduation, and I pinned it to the inside of my PC.
Ranger School is not for the faint of heart, but for those who are up to the challenge, it is the ultimate proving ground.
They already didn't have enough beds for the people in our company. And our eyes reminded us that we don't have enough beds because there's not going to be this many people by tomorrow. Just a slight reminder that there's too many of you anyways, and not all of you are going to pass.
Rangers, if you don't figure it out, you're about to get another casualty.
It's completely different than what people would think Ranger School is like, but you can't put that into words, so it's hard to tell somebody something that you have to experience for yourself.
They got a saying, it's called As the Tab Turns. So Ranger School is continuing to change and to develop, but at the end of the day, it is the same, right? They're always going to put you in scenarios that is going to test like your ability to actually make decisions on the ground.
As you go through Ranger School, it is a gut check. It's going to check you out. And what's going to get you through it is whether you have it or not. Thousands and thousands of soldiers train all their lives to come here, prepare themselves to come to Ranger School, and only a few hundred leave here every class with the tab. It's not for everyone.
I'm not going to leave until I get it, so just buckle down, stop complaining, and just get the job done.
Please welcome country music sensation and proud supporter of our troops, Warren Ziders.
as we're finishing up, the President of the United States expected to make remarks in just a few minutes from now. Lieutenant General Eifler, thoughts on the parade?
I thought it was a very good parade. The weather cooperated. You got to see 250 years of history, a slice, just a small fraction of the mighty sovereignty of America in the form of the Army go across the streets of D.C., and I appreciate that we were able to share it with you, Pedro.
Sergeant Major.
Yes, just makes me think about, again, out of those 250 years, the 32 years that I've had the opportunity to serve, the relationships, that I've forged along the way, what people have invested in me along the way. I would not trade it for anything in the world. If you are out there and you're thinking about it, don't think, act. Like, do it. Just
I was going to ask you what the message is if someone was
Yeah.
making this decision right now, maybe watching this, or maybe they were already thinking about it. What would you tell them?
Yeah, so the most important thing is, this is not the Army that, your father, my grandfather, that they served in. The way we assess, the way we develop, the way we retain, different. But what hasn't changed, standards, discipline, and our values as an Army, it's always remained the same. So again, hey, if you think you're up to the test, come see us. We got something for you. We're here for you.
Lieutenant General, so what would you tell somebody who's thinking
I
about
would
it?
say the same. It changed my life. It made me a better person. It made me a better, husband, father, son, brother, friend, and a citizen. And I think I can never give back what the Army has given to me. It's been a tremendous journey of leadership that I've been on, and I've been blessed by God in this effort. And I can't thank everybody involved. Like Smoke said, like a lot of people developed me, and I think they invested in me, and I think you find that in this profession of arms that we're in.
Lieutenant General Brian Eifler serves as the U.S. Army Personnel Deputy Chief of Staff. Sergeant Major Christopher Stevens is the U.S. Army Personnel Senior Enlisted Advisor. Both gentlemen with us as part of the 250th Anniversary Parade coverage on C-SPAN. Gentlemen, thanks for your time.
Thank you. We'll see you in 50 years.
We will continue on, though. The President of the United States expected to make comments in just a few minutes from now. A performance by Warren Zeiders, his second song, Ride the Lightning. We'll listen to the rest of that.
There's a man in a black coat standing at a crossroads. I hope he lets me pass by. When I close my eyes, gonna ride the lightning, feel the thunder, till the darkness pulls me under. Gonna fly on wings of fire, breathing good, Lord, lifts me high. Saying, oh, when they call me home. Saying, oh, when they call me home. Gonna ride the lightning, ride the lightning, ride the lightning. We got one more chorus, y'all. Gonna ride the lightning, feel the thunder, till the darkness pulls me under. Gonna fly on wings of fire, breathing good, Lord, lifts me high. Singing, oh, when they call me home. Singing, oh, when they call me home. Gonna ride the lightning. Gonna ride the lightning. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody here, everybody that has attended tonight, I just want to say thank you so much. And I'll leave y'all with this. I'm Orange Riders, y'all. Thanks for having me. It has been my honor, ladies and gentlemen. I really mean that. Thank you so much. Happy birthday to the Army. Happy birthday to our President, Donald Trump. Amen, y'all. God bless America, baby!
This week we honor 250 years of valor and glory and triumph by the greatest fighting force ever to walk the face of the earth, the United States Army. Each of you on the field today is among the most talented members of your generation. You could have done anything you wanted. You could have gone anywhere. You could have gone to any school. Matt's incredible heroism helped ensure that not a single American soldier died in the Battle of Shock Valley. For 2.5 centuries, our soldiers have marched into the raging fires of battle and obliterated America's enemies. The dignity, daring, and devotion of the American military is unrivaled anywhere in history and any place in the world. Our soldiers do not rest until they win. Our citizens know that you're standing guard, killing terrorists, crushing our enemies, and keeping America safe. But you're also keeping it strong and proud and mighty and free. This week we remember that we only have a country because we first had an army. As President of the United States, let me express my undying gratitude for every soldier here today, for every veteran and their incredible families, and for every patriot who has worn the uniform. Our debt to you is infinite and everlasting. With the grace of God, America will always prevail.
Well, let me say to the thousands of Americans who traveled from distant towns and across state lines to be here today, this is your national capital. Welcome to Washington, D.C. We are thrilled to have you. This evening, as we celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States Army, the oldest branch of the greatest fighting force ever known to man, I want to say to all the soldiers all across our nation's capital and all across the world, happy birthday, soldiers. We're proud of you. And I want to say you represent an unbroken line of greatness, of excellence. And one of the things the President of the United States has told his entire administration, from the Vice President on down, is that we must remember that the young men and women who put on the uniform and serve this nation are our most precious resource. We must honor them, we must respect them, we must fight for them, and that's exactly what the Trump administration aims to do every single day. And so to our soldiers, we're so proud of you, and let me tell you that the way that we honor and respect you is, number one, we never ask you to go to war unless you absolutely have to. And number two, when we do ask you to go to war, we give you the weapons and the support needed to kick the hell out of the enemy and come back home safely. Now, I know I am the last thing standing between And that is a dangerous place to be with a lot of soldiers in the audience. So let me just say a couple of quick additional thoughts. First of all, June the 14th is, of course, the birthday of the Army. It is, of course, the birthday of the President of the United States. And happy birthday, Mr. President. But I would get in trouble if I didn't mention that it's also my wedding anniversary. And so to my lovely wife, I love you, honey. Happy anniversary. And thank you for everything that you do for our country. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce the 45th and 47th Commander-in-Chief of the United States military, President Donald J. Trump.
Thank you to Vice President Vance, and thank you to our wonderful First Lady, and above all, thank you to the greatest, fiercest, and bravest fighting force ever to stride the face of this earth, the United States Army. Thank you very much. Because the Army keeps us free, you make us strong, and tonight you have made all Americans very proud. They're watching from all over the world, actually. Made them all very proud. Every other country celebrates their victories. It's about time America did too. That's what we're doing tonight. And watching this magnificent display, our souls are filled with gratitude for every generation of warriors who have worn the uniform all the way back to the very beginning. So to every veteran across our land and right here in our nation's capital, including 6 recipients of the Congressional Medal of Honor, we love you, we honor you, and we salute your noble service to our flag and to our country. As we celebrate tonight, we also think of the hundreds of thousands of Army soldiers who have made the supreme sacrifice for our nation and selflessly laid down their lives in every war, from the Revolution to the War on Terror. To the Gold Star families with us today, the courage of your heroes is the bedrock on which our entire nation stands. We thank you. Yes, we thank you. Today we commemorate an event that did not just change American history, but changed the history of the entire world. With the creation of America's Army on June 14th, 1775, liberty got its shield and the freedom got its sword. Those first Army patriots in the American Revolution fought against a fearsome enemy and impossible odds, but they were armed with a righteous cause. They were led by an indomitable commander, a truly great man, General George Washington, and they were united by an eternal creed. Their motto was victory or death. Over the past 2.5 centuries, our warriors have shown unrivaled valor on fields of battle around the globe. With the frostbitten feet and bloody fist, they have marched into the flames and fury of combat, charged up mountains, stormed beaches, waded through torrents of gunfire, and leapt into skies thick with smoke and shrapnel. The U.S. Army has driven bayonets into the heart of sinister empires, crushed the ambitions of evil tyrants. Beneath the threads of American tanks, it's done so well, it's done so much, and sent the devil himself flying into full retreat. Time and again, America's enemies have learned that if you threaten the American people, our soldiers are coming for you. Your defeat will be certain, your demise will be final. and your downfall will be total and complete. Because our soldiers never give up, never surrender, and never, ever quit. They fight, 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 and they win, win, win. And that's why no institution in history has entered more names into the roster of American heroes than the U.S. Army, the Congressional Medal of Honor, more than anyone or anything. There was Mad Anthony Wayne, asked by George Washington to lead a daring midnight raid up the cliffs of Stony Point with unloaded muskets and only their bayonets to fight the redcoats. Mad Anthony replied, "Issue the order, sir, and I will storm into hell for you." Then there was the Civil War general, John Corse, shot in the face in combat. He fired off a message to his commander: "I am short a cheekbone and one ear, but I am able to whip the hell out of all of them." He stayed on the front lines, it seemed forever. In World War II, there was the great Creighton Abrams, besieged on all sides by the Nazis at the Battle of the Bulge. He boldly proclaimed, "They've got us surrounded again, the poor bastards." This is the fighting spirit and unyielding force of the U.S. Army. It has never changed, and it will never, ever change, because there is no earthly force more powerful than the brave heart of a U.S. infantryman or an Army Ranger, paratrooper, or Green Beret. They are the best, they are the finest. From Bunker Hill to San Juan Hill, from Gettysburg to Guadalcanal, from Yorktown to Shiloh, and from the trenches of the Argonne to the mountains of Afghanistan, the Army has forged a legacy of unmatched courage, untold sacrifice, and unequaled and undying glory. Our soldiers have poured out their blood by the bucketful on Missionary Ridge and Heartbreak Ridge, on the sands of Sicily, Normandy, and the Philippines, and on the dusty streets of Da Nang, Baghdad, and Fallujah. Thanks to their extraordinary service and devotion, 250 years later, America stands tall, America stands proud, and America stands free. We're the hottest country in the world right now, and our country will soon be greater and stronger than ever before. Down through history, we've been blessed beyond words by this valiant legion of Army warriors and patriots, heroes and legends. And tonight we affirm with unwavering certainty that in the years ahead and in every generation hence, whenever duty calls and whatever danger comes, the American soldier will be there. No matter the risk, no matter the obstacles, our warriors will charge into battle. They will plunge into the crucible of fire, and they will seize the crown of victory, because the United States of America will always have the grace of Almighty God and the iron will of the United States Army. Congratulations to everybody. We love our country. We've never done better. Thank you. God bless you. God bless the Army, and God bless America. And now I'd like to ask our great First Lady to join me at the podium. Thank you very much, everybody.
President, on behalf of the United States Army, the Army Golden Knights, I would like to present to you this flag, which was flown over our nation's capital in free fall during the Army's 250th birthday celebration.
Continuing our coverage of the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army, we are set in just a short while to conclude the activities of the evening with fireworks. And once that's done, you can continue watching, though, on our main network, C-SPAN, what you're watching right now, cspan.org and C-SPAN Now.
Thank you, U.S. Army. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Army, for 2 years.
Thank you so much for serving alongside my grandfather and my great-grandfather, for your service, for your country, for your family. And I just want to say thank you from a generation that may not have known your name, but I get to live in the freedom because of it.
I want to thank all the U.S. service members, men and women, and especially the Army for their 250th birthday. Thank you very much.
My grandpa served in the Army in World War II as part of the 82nd Airborne. Thank you, Army, for everything that you do.
My brother Rob and my son Alec both served in the U.S. Army. We thank you for your courage, your sacrifices, and the burdens that you may now carry.
Thank you so much for doing what you do, putting your lives on the line for other men like me to live the life I live.
I just want to say happy birthday to the U.S. Army, congratulating them on 250 years. I want to give a big shout out to my Uncle Zadie, who served in the Army, and thank you for all you do.
I'm very thankful for the dedication and the hard work of the men and women of the U.S. Army.
Hi, American soldiers. Thank you for all you do. Love you.
Our freedom is not free, and we know that we are free because of you and your efforts.
Thank you to our Army active duty and veterans for protecting our rights and freedoms. It comes at an immeasurable cost.
Wishing you the best. Happy birthday. Go on.
Happy birthday, Army. Thank you to everybody who's serving today and has served in the past.
Love you guys and girls. Thank you so much for everything you do.
A big thank you to the men and women that serve our country and everything you guys do for us.
Thank you, Army, and happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Army.
Happy birthday, Army.
Happy 250th.
I swore an oath to every generation before me. I wear the same branch insignia as the soldiers who crossed the Delaware. Before there was a nation, there was an army. We've seen what division costs.
I serve because unity is worth the fight. I carry that legacy forward every time I put on this uniform.
Both of my grandfathers served in the Second World War. They answered the challenges of their time, and it is my goal in this uniform to answer and meet the challenges of my time head on.
He ain't heaven, he's my brother.
The arms are swinging a cadence count. Sound off. 1, 2. Sound off. Bring on down. 1, 2.
these bonds. There's a realness to these bonds. It's not just because this is your team, it's because your life depends on these people.
I am an American soldier. I'm a warrior and a member of the team.
I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never quit.
Trained and proficient in my warrior task and drill.
I am an expert and I am a professional.
Enemies of the United States of America in close combat.
I am a guardian of freedom and the American way of life.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
So on we go. His welfare is my concern. No burden is he to bear. We'll get there. For I know he would not encumber me. He ain't heavy. He's my brother. My brother, yeah. He ain't heavy. No, no. He's my brother.
When I'm outside guarding the tomb of the unknown soldier, it is one of the most honorable jobs I think that I could have had in the military. I think about those soldiers who made the ultimate sacrifice.
Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife. Who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. And I will always do my duty, no matter what the price. Hey, I've counted up the cost. I know the sacrifice. Oh, and I don't want to die for you. But if dying's asking me, I'll bear that cross with honor. Hey, freedom don't come free. I'm an American soldier, an American. Beside my brothers and my sisters, I will
humbling experience putting on this uniform?
I believe this uniform is a symbol of trust, and it represents the highest ideals of our country.
Where a child is hungry, where men have no homes, where the powerless are yearning to breathe free. May we fight for justice till there's justice for all. And become what God meant us to be. I pledge my allegiance to the grand old flag and the promise of hope from sea to sea. Under God, one nation undivided, we will stand 'neath the banner of liberty. Under God, one nation undivided, we will stand 'neath the
Thank you for joining us on this historic occasion. A special thanks to Scott's Miracle Grow and all of the terrific America 250 sponsors that helped make this monumental event happen. And to you here in our audience or watching at home, to those in our U.S. military who are currently serving, have served, or being remembered, thank you for celebrating in the greatest country in the world. God bless you and God bless America. Good night.
Monday, Attorney General Pam Bondi hosts the first Religious Liberty Commission meeting established under an executive order by President Trump. Religious professors and experts are expected to testify. Watch it live at 9 a.m. Eastern on C-SPAN 2, C-SPAN Now, our free mobile app, or online at cspan.org. The U.S. Senate returns Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Senators are expected to consider more of President Trump's nominations throughout the week, including Assistant HHS Secretary and FCC Commissioner. The Senate will vote Tuesday on final passage of legislation aimed at creating a federal regulatory framework for payment stablecoins in the crypto market. The U.S. House continues its recess over the Juneteenth holiday. Members will return for votes on Monday, June 23rd. Watch live coverage of the House on C-SPAN, see the Senate on C-SPAN 2, and all of our congressional coverage is available on our free video app C-SPAN Now and online at cspan.org.
C-SPAN, Democracy Unfiltered. We're funded by these television companies and more, including Comcast.
Oh, you think this is just a community center? No, it's way more than that. Comcast is partnering with 1,000 community centers to create Wi-Fi-enabled lift zones so students from low-income families can get the tools they need to be ready for anything.
Comcast supports C-SPAN as a public service, along with these other television providers, giving you a front row seat to democracy.
Next, Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin joins others in the No Kings Coalition for its No Kings protest, a rally and march in Philadelphia that was one of several concurrent protest rallies in cities across the United States.
Before I say anything today, I want us to take a moment and consider the violence that we heard about this morning in Minnesota. I want to ask Reverend Della Owens if she would come and read the name of those who